It's time for the big three stocks, three charts, three trades. And Rick Ducat will take us through the charts. Here to take us through the trades, Jessica Inskip, Director of Investor Research at stockbrokers.com. Great to see you both this morning. Jessica, how are you feeling about this new week where we're hitting, looking at highs and had a winning week last week? I mean, Peter Tuchman was noting just the 3 weeks of gains and erasing the losses of, the worries about quantum computing and DeepSeek and all that. Some of your thoughts?
Yeah, I actually have some air of caution, I suppose, that I'm feeling within the data. So still the tale of two markets. The AI narrative could definitely lead a narrow rally. I'm still certainly in that camp. But then thinking on the other side of the equation, which is the uncertainty, fiscal policy, inflation, we saw a tick down in retail sales. We haven't really taken into account what's happening within the government and how that will show up in unemployment data. But then again, on the other hand, we have a toolbox that the Fed has in order to provide some cushion. And then everything's pointing back to the 10-year yield is what I'm watching. So I think just some caution and watching out for how some of this will come into the data. But either way, it's separating the market from those AI-driven securities and then the others, which we're seeing some really good breadth of and good earnings. So some uncertainty, and uncertainty is volatility, Nicole.
Yeah, and look, I know we ticked down a bit, but we're really sitting with the 10-year yield, just really not budging. We've been in somewhat of a range and not really too far out of that range. Let's talk about S&P Global, SPGI. Tell me a little bit about what you're watching here as it's basically hovering around new highs.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is really going off of that retail trend. This came up on my weekly technical scan. I look for a crossover from the 13 and 26 weekly moving averages because we look at the market quarterly. This was a crossover positive. So I think there's a lot that has to do with from a fundamental perspective. Retail investing has been surging. We saw this with Robinhood. Other self-directed brokerage firms are posting really record profits and soaring as a result on the back of that. But S&P, they gained from that trend of passive investing. They also have consistent revenue growth from that IHS market acquisition that they did back in 2022. That's showing its expanded data capabilities, and it just has this moat around their market position with just data that they have, even going back to the 1800s from a data perspective. And that just leads to this broad data ecosystem. And of course, the flagship indices that we talk about, couple that with the passive investing, and we've got some positive growth momentum for S&P Global.
Yeah, and look, what a run it's had from the 407 to the 545 here on this level. Incredible move, 30% in 1 year. Rick, tell us about the charts, please.
Yes, so when we see this one here, it's been on the move to the upside recently after a bit of a sideways range that we established shortly after we started to hit these highs near the late fall months here, right around 533 or so. So this was our high point. Then we established our range. Here you can see this kind of zigzagging type price activity moving around. Our two shorter term moving averages that we follow are yellow 21-day and orange 63-day exponential moving averages. Notice as well our long-term purple 252-day EMA quite far below where we are now, so the trend is much more biased toward the upside in general in this name. Now more recently after earnings we had another gap up, price shot above those old highs, and so far we have managed to hang on above that level. We did retest that old high and dip below it a little bit here, but for the most part we stayed within this rather narrow upward sloping channel here, so close to those old highs or the recent highs here as we moved upward on heavy volume as well. So a move into the overbought area on the RSI would be nice for the bulls here. If we were to continue moving to the upside, our +1 standard deviation channel, which is one standard deviation above our blue linear regression line, comes in at about 575. To the downside, volume node, gap level, yellow 21-day EMA all come together around 520, 522 in that general area.
Okay, thank you for that. Appreciate it. So watching those key levels there, Jessica, final thoughts?
Yeah, I certainly agree. It's hitting those new highs, and we just have to continue to watch those levels. But I like the thought of the retail trend.
Okay, and I saw UBS has a buy, maintained its buy. It has a 640 target. This was today. So, and that's up from 610. So positive there. Let's look at Dollar Tree. We're looking at this name. Some of your thoughts here, DLTR.
Absolutely, Nicole. Dollar Tree actually came up on my weekly technical scan as well. And this was a breakout in progress. I didn't get the confirmation that I'm looking for. So the 13 crossed above the 26 weekly moving average. Again, that's 1 and 2 quarters. I want to see a weekly close above the 26 weekly moving average before I would start being really bullish on Dollar Tree, which means there's a potential options play that's there given the technical setup. If I see that weekly close, so I'd be looking into this next week. Perhaps we'll bring it up next week. I would be selling a cash secured put around at the money and then about 45 days out until expiration. But what I'm dealing into the fundamentals, I think there is a little bit of caution there. There were price hikes with Dollar Tree. They depend quite a lot on imports, which means potential tariffs could have a negative impact on them. So there's a lot of headwinds from fiscal uncertainty. However, some of the tariff talk that came in that was lowering, that benefited Shein, could perhaps benefit Dollar Tree as well. So this is a conditional buy. We'll start with the technicals and then reassess the fundamental situation.
Okay. Let's see what Rick has to say. I mean, it certainly has had a nice move over, let's say, the 3 months, right, up 15%. Where do you think this could be heading? And she's watching the key moving averages like you do, Rick. Some of your thoughts.
Yes, that's a good point here. It has been a decent move recently off of these lows, so we're up about 23% from that point, near about 49 or so. However, if you also consider the broader picture here, we have been trending down rather significantly from this point. Even back further, just shortly before that was the 52-week highs. We are down about 50% from there. So, however, we've got that longer-term blue trend line, but you can see that we have moved beyond it. Not really a big breakout to the upside necessarily yet. And like Jessica said, it's important to wait for confirmation when you're trying to make some kind of attempt at technical trading here, because you don't want to jump the gun, so to speak, and have it be a false breakout and then, you know, what, so on and so forth. But so in terms of the breakout we are seeing right now, we are moving above that confluence of those two moving averages here, but we are a little bit short of this repeated high area here, this 77 level. That would be one area to watch. We've also got this gap right here near about 81.55. So two rather important upside levels that are pretty close to where we are now. However, still trending upward off the lows, white trend line still in play. RSI crossing above the 50 midline and invalidating that old trend line as well. Now when we throw in our volume profile and standard deviation channels, this is something a lot of people keep on the lookout for. A large amount of volume at the low levels typically is interpreted as a sign that a potential bottom could be in here. So that's a key factor to consider here. Lows near 60.49, like I said, and then those resistance zone levels that I mentioned to the upside, 77 to like 81, 82.
Yeah, watching the volume, not too much volatility now. What's interesting is you think about, you talked about retail sales, and I'm thinking about folks and what we hear from the companies, shoppers, that they're all looking for value. But these, so that would be something good for the cheaper places, discount places. At the same time, though, they're going to face more in the world of tariffs. If a lot of stuff from China is facing higher tariffs, that could be not such a great thing for a name like Dollar Tree. Final thoughts here on this name, Jessica.
Absolutely. You hit the nail on the head, Nicole. It's all about balance. And from the technical perspective, it seems like ours are in harmony. I'm looking for this base to form and then a base breakout. And then perhaps we'll see that move to value, and hopefully those tariff headwinds don't come in.
Next up, we have Dell, and it's fun to watch Dell because we all remember Dell way back when. It has a buy rating over at Bank of America Securities, so that was a positive call here. The target is now 150 from 155. Today, it's trading at 118. Where do you think this could be headed, Jessica? What's on your mind?
Yeah, again, this one is a conditional buy, and that's due to the technical stance. I always look at the technicals and then dive into the fundamentals. That's really my process there. There's some near-term challenges and I think some long-term opportunities with Dell. When we're talking about the AI narrative and we're focusing on the hyperscalers, the big issue is the spending spree that they're on and the CapEx spending and how that's going to translate into revenue. And we've talked considerably about that. When we move on to more of the hardware like Dell, The big issue is server sales and even the demand for Blackwell. Now, there isn't a demand issue, it was a supply issue, and we heard that on the last earnings report for Dell. So Dell reports February 27th. I think any pullback could potentially be a buying opportunity. What I'm looking for is server growth. Last quarter, the AI server sales, they dipped due to the NVIDIA's Blackwell chips. So if they can ramp up on those deliveries and that demand shifts, then that's going to be good. That's going to be good for revenues and good for margins over time. And we were talking about Elon Musk and that potential deal with OpenAI. Now there is a negotiation or works of a $5 billion AI server deal with xAI. So perhaps that could boost future sales as well. So again, my technical level, looking for a weekly close above 122. And then from an earnings perspective, I want to hear about that forward-looking guidance, where that demand is for the servers, and any more clarity on that deal with xAI.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, and that's such a big part of it too. Dell, your thoughts here on the charts, Rick?
Yeah, so this is one where we've got kind of a triangular shape over the past, half year, maybe a little longer than that. But another one where, like our last chart, we are pushing above an important confluence of our moving averages. This time it's all three of the three moving averages that we follow clustered together, and the faster one is starting to turn upward. Our yellow 21 days, its slope is starting to shift from negative to positive here. So that would be an interesting sign for the bulls to keep an eye on there. RSI also improving. Longer term red downward sloping trend line starting to be invalidated here as we hang on to this crossover above that 50 midline here. So as we look to hang on to the push above these moving averages here, when we look at our volume profile study, we can see the point of control is here near about 117.50 or so, which is quite close to where price is currently. So if you expand your area of interest a little bit here, there's quite a bit going on between about 112 to 118 or so. We've got our moving averages, our point of control, and our linear regression line here, our line of best fit, all coming together right around where we are now. So a key area to hold if you're looking for some upside movement here. The next volume node comes in perhaps around 126 or so. Then the post gap down highs near about 129.65 would be another area to beat. To the downside, 101.41 low point, and then another low point, then another volume node near 89, close to our -2 standard deviation channel.
All right, great stuff on the charts there, Rick Ducat. And we'll give Jessica Inskip a final word.
Yeah, I'm really watching that 10-year yield. Like you said at the top, Nicole, it's in this range. That is great. Let's hope it stays there. Otherwise, that has just a trickle-down effect right into earnings.
Okay, thank you both so much for the big three today. We saw S&P Global, Dollar Tree, and Dell in our big three. Appreciate it. Jessica Inskip, stockbrokers.com, and our own Rick Ducat there on the charts, looking at the technicals. Thank you.